am afraid of the weekend coming. Life in the dream home has just begun. Currently, we are hosting a party every week at our home to welcome my in-laws. My wishes are not reflected, and my time for rest is being cut short. At the party, I am made to work as hands and feet for my in-laws. My spouse and I have been married for 3 years, working together. In the early days of our marriage, we lived in a 2-room rental apartment. Hey, shall we start building our own house soon? Yes, I also want to live in our own house. Buying a house was a big investment. I supported my husband, who is loose with money, and worked hard on saving and budgeting. Finally, we were able to see the possibility of buying our own house and started looking for a property. How's the property search going? There's so much to decide, nothing has been finalized yet. I spent my holidays on property searches, and fatigue accumulated. Hey, could you help out a bit? I can't, I have work. You're really not reliable. Oh, right. How about searching with my parents? Why? I don't want to bother your parents. It's fine. My parents are also concerned. What do you mean? Well, it's all right. It's all right. Although I was concerned about my husband's hesitant talk, honestly, I was not good at getting along with my in-laws and preferred to avoid spending time together. Despite this, contrary to my expectations, I was contacted by my in-laws right away. Hey, have you decided on the new house? I was thinking of asking a construction company run by my friend. No, we want to decide on the new house by ourselves. Despite my indirect refusal, a few days later, I heard from a contact about a very good piece of land. I heard the construction company hasn't contacted you. Did you make sure to contact them? Before I knew it, plans were underway to build a house on a piece of land I didn't know about, by a construction company I didn't even know. Actually, we want to decide everything by ourselves. Oh, my son said he wants us to take care of it. Make sure all the appliances are fully electric. The intervention by my in-laws became stronger day by day. I asked my husband to ask his parents to stop interfering. Why can't you accept my parents' suggestions? I want to hear your thoughts. It's noisy. Just take my parents' opinions as mine. How can you say that? Proposing to create a vegetable patch where the car is supposed to be parked or installing a pizza oven in the kitchen, are those really your ideas? After such exchanges, one day came just before the construction was to start. Please confirm the contents of this contract one more time. It was a call from the construction company we had commissioned to build the new house. Since I had thoroughly discussed it with the architect, I replied, yes, there's no problem. Is there any mistake? The person from the construction company continued somewhat reluctantly. I had heard it was for you and your spouse to live in. Yes, that's right. What about it? Then the person from the construction company shared a shocking fact. This design, it's almost like it's for a 2-generation household. I felt a sensation of my head turning blank. That's not right. I don't know how the plan was carried out, but my in-laws had intervened without permission in the design I confirmed with the construction company, saying changes are necessary and had it altered. Moreover, they spoke as if I had agreed to those changes. The construction company was also perplexed, and I deeply apologize. Then farm tools were delivered to where the garage was supposed to be made, and it had been switched to a plan to start a home garden. This, too, was the work of my in-laws. The builder asked me, is it really okay to start construction? A few days later, a notice of unexpected furniture delivery was in the mailbox. It was cash on delivery, and again, this was the work of my in-laws. This was clearly overstepping. It was no longer possible to solve this through my husband. I reached my limit of patience and appealed directly to my in-laws. Father, mother, please stop acting on your own. Why is it bad? It's wrong for you to interfere in the house we will live in. What? Our house? Incredibly, it seemed my in-laws had assumed we would be living together. I hurriedly contacted my husband. Your parents have a big misunderstanding. What do you mean? They think they will live in our new house with us. Oh, that conversation. My heart chilled at my husband's calm reaction. I couldn't believe it. I think that's the best idea. What are you talking about? I haven't heard anything about this. Well, I'm telling you now. That should be enough. Unbelievable. I absolutely oppose it. Wait a minute. This is about my parents. Why do you oppose it? It seemed my husband had no doubts about living with his parents. On the other hand, he pressed as if to blame me for my opposition. Can't you, as a wife, get along with my parents? But the design was changed without my consent. Well, the elderly like to meddle. It's from goodwill. That's not possible. There's no trust between me, you, and your parents. We can build that trust from now on. The problem is now. I can't live with people I can't trust. You're being too sensitive. Then, we should cancel the new house plan. Stop the construction. Let's calm down. My firm opposition led to the cancellation of the plan to live with my in-laws. Doubts about my husband remained unresolved, and it seemed he was also dissatisfied with me. Amidst this, our new house was finally completed. I felt positive for the first time in a while about deepening our family bonds while cooperating with my husband in this house. On moving day, when we had settled the luggage, my husband broached an important topic. Now that we have our own house, I've started to feel the responsibility of being the head of the family. I see. I want you to listen. I want you, as my wife, to have that sense of responsibility too. Being a wife, isn't that a bit much? Hey, I'm being serious here. I felt a bit of discomfort at my husband's confident posture with his arms crossed. However, thinking it was good that he started to feel a sense of responsibility, I replied, yes, understood. But I would soon regret that decision. It was the weekend, and my husband called me on his way home. Tomorrow, I've invited some colleagues from work over. I need you to prepare for the party. What, tomorrow? Why so sudden? Why? Because it's tomorrow. You'll have time to prepare. But I have a hair salon appointment tomorrow. What are you talking about? Think about what's more important. My husband insisted. My parents will come over to help, so be thankful. What? It was the first weekend after moving into our new house. I was looking forward to changing the layout of the kitchen and living room, but my excitement vanished in an instant. Furthermore, those in-laws of mine were coming to help. I couldn't help but feel anxious. On the day of the home party, my in-laws arrived early in the morning. As I was busy with the food preparation, when I asked for their help, they said, "Oh, such plain dishes. At least order some finger food. I'll handle the ordering." Actually, the food is already prepared and we have finger food ready. We can't afford any more orders. What are you saying? Are you trying to shame your husband? Being stingy could affect your husband's promotion. What an understanding wife you are. Could you help with the party preparations instead? Sorry, I have a hair salon appointment. See you later. Make sure to set up the food properly when it arrives. Leaving those words behind, my in-laws went out after only making their demands known. My husband was still asleep in his room. Somehow, I managed to finish the party preparations in time. When I tried to get myself ready before the guests arrived. Look, this place is dirty. Hey, what's this dust in the entrance? Clean it properly. We're running low on beer, go buy more. Ordered around by my husband and in-laws, who had just gotten ready, I ended up welcoming the guests without even having time to put on makeup. Welcome, everyone. Please, this way. Now, serve the guests some drinks. Hurry up, will you? The party that day was the toughest for me. My stylish mother-in-law treated me like a servant. Without introducing me, when I greeted a few guests myself, they were puzzled by my appearance in a greasy apron without makeup. They probably thought I was a servant of the house, which was humiliating. Afterward, my husband started to host parties every weekend. And my in-laws never failed to visit. Colleagues from work, their families, and even neighbors were invited without prior consultation. My in-laws continued to play the glamorous hosts at the parties without offering any help, ordering me around. My husband adopted the same attitude as his parents. Initially, I complained to my husband. Please, let's not have parties every weekend. Why not? Everyone's having fun. I work too, and preparing for parties all weekend really wears me out. My parents are helping, aren't they? Helping? You call that helping? It's because you can't handle the guests that my parents are stepping in. All your parents do is eat and talk without preparing or cleaning up. What do you mean? There's no need to talk about my parents like that. But it's true. First of all, it's because you refuse to live with them that my parents have to come from far away. I sighed internally at this exchange. My husband always brought up the fact that I had refused to live with his parents whenever I objected to something. He continued to argue that since I had accepted his requests, I should also listen to his desires. Amidst the days spent without rest, I suddenly realized that I hadn't yet invited my own parents to our new house. So, I proposed, I want to skip the party this weekend and invite my parents over. What are you talking about? No, I object. Object? Do you even have the awareness of being a wife? You married into my family. And above all, don't belittle my parents. I'm not belittling anyone. Well, I don't mind you inviting them, but my parents come first. But your parents come every weekend, and because of the parties, I can never invite mine. How did it come to this? How much more does my husband expect me to sacrifice? Reaching this thought, I decided that I needed to consult someone about this situation. So, I called my mother and told her everything that had happened. I apologized tearfully for not being able to invite her to our new house. My mother was surprised but listened to me calmly. For now, come home this weekend, but I have to prepare for the party. You still haven't realized it, have you? Realized what? You're losing sight of yourself because of exhaustion. Awakened by my mother's words, I felt enlightened. And then, my mother continued. I've come up with a plan, but I won't proceed if you're against it. Hearing the plan, I was taken aback. If executed, it would have a significant impact on my husband. I was left unsure whether to proceed. Talk to him one more time, then decide. My mother left the final decision up to me. I decided to talk to my husband again. Why are we back to this topic? Just invite your parents when mine aren't here. I interrupted my husband's words and made my position clear. Listen, this is your last chance. Not to plan home parties on his own. Of course, to get my consent for his parents' weekly visits too. And this time, to invite my parents. I conveyed these conditions, hoping my husband would accept them. Last chance, you're joking. I won't allow you or your parents to do as you please anymore. Listen, since you refuse to live with my parents, you should prioritize them. As usual, my husband started blaming me for lacking family awareness. Furthermore, he stated, a wife like you won't allow her family through our door. Never invite your parents, and if you're dissatisfied, leave. Realizing that arguing with him was futile, I had hoped patience would lead to his concession, but it was the opposite. Biting my lip, I conveyed my last hope, you'll regret this. However, he scoffed, I won't regret it, don't show your face to me again. With that, I left the house and spent some time at my parents' house. As time passed, I regained my composure. Following my husband had made me realize how brainwashed I had been. For my husband, it turned out that his self-esteem and vanity were more valuable than the concept of family. In his desire to appear admirable, he exploited our new house and his wife's role for selfish purposes. Afterward, I decided to listen to my mother's proposal. Several weeks had passed since I returned to my parents' home. My health had recovered. Since my workplace was close to my parents' home, my enthusiasm for work returned and I was living energetically. Yet, messages from my husband continued unabated, starting with I'll forgive you if. always from a position of superiority. He was always concerned about the preparations for the home parties. Lately, the gatherings we planned at our house were canceled. It's your fault. My position at work is getting worse because of this. How will you take responsibility? Think a little. I want you to fulfill your role as a wife at the important home parties. My husband was furious that I hadn't returned home, especially since he had a special home party planned for the end of the month. This party was to welcome important people from his workplace at our house, a highly prestigious event for him, supposedly ensuring his promotion if successful. On that special day, I, dressed up, headed to our home with my parents. My husband and in-laws were busy preparing to welcome the guests, managing the delivered food and drinks. My husband's bosses and colleagues were also present, and I exchanged greetings with them. "Oh, you look very charming in that dress." "Thank you." Seeing me, my husband and in-laws immediately approached with excitement. "Hey, what are you doing? Hurry up and help. What's with that outfit? What kind of wife are you, wandering around like that?" As my in-laws reached for the hem of my dress, my mother stepped forward from behind and clearly swatted their hands away. "Please don't touch the dress I designed with your greasy hands." "What is this? Who are you?" "Hey, that's my wife. You don't get to speak. It's unpleasant to be referred to in that manner towards my daughter." During this exchange, my husband's complexion rapidly changed. "You are what, daughter? You are the host of tonight's party, aren't you? Please show us around." "Oh, it was you who said we shouldn't cross the threshold of this house, right?" "Huh, what are you talking about? You said that?" Well, that." My husband's face turned from blue to red, changing like a traffic light. In fact, the guest of honor at today's gathering was my mother. My parents were executives in a major fashion industry company, and my husband's company had been planning to collaborate with the design department led by my mother for this fiscal year's business plan. Therefore, my husband suggested entertaining them with his proud home party. My mother, who operates under her maiden name, seemed unrecognized by my husband, although they had actually met before the marriage. Well, considering my husband's nature, he probably forgot. "Really, what kind of upbringing does your daughter have? Quick, to the kitchen. It's just right. Take your parents with you." "Stop it. This person is a special guest." "What?" My husband and in-laws were flustered and unsettled. My mother gave my husband a light glance, asking him to bring some drinks, please. Rushing to the kitchen, my husband returned with glasses. After checking the 2 glasses provided, she asked, "Could you also get one for my daughter?" Glancing at me, aware of his bosses and colleagues around, he brought a glass for me with his head down. I gracefully accepted it, giving my in-laws a firm look. "Could you also take care of the food?" What?" "Yes, understood. I'd like to sit down. Could you lend me a chair?" Yes, of course. Doesn't this seem like too few dishes?" Oh, does it? How about French? Shall we order some? Of course, the bill is on you." The budget is a bit. Oh dear, scrimping might affect your son's future, you know." While tilting my glass, I smiled warmly towards them. In fact, among those invited to today's party were individuals who had been acquainted with my mother from past visits to our house. And it seems they had relayed to my mother the cold treatment I received from my husband and in-laws at a previous home party. Dressed in a shabby apron, looking nothing like the lady of the house, I only realized she was your daughter when we exchanged greetings. She seemed very tired. My weakness had caused concern for my mother. Though I've regained my spirit now, that difficult period had weighed heavily on my heart. During the party, my mother kept my husband busy fetching drinks, continuously pointing out the work ethic of my in-laws, while my father deepened his acquaintance with people from my husband's workplace. After the party ended, I approached my husband. "Good work. Please, sign this." I handed him a divorce petition. Feeling humiliated by the day's events, my husband signed in a rage. Although my in-laws tried to stop him, my husband was resolute. "There, it's over. Don't ever show up in front of me again. Taking the divorce petition, I left my husband's house. Exiting the gate and looking back, I knew I would never return. Thus, I bid farewell to the dream home I once longed for. The house had changed my husband's character completely, and I had nearly lost myself in the process. My attachment to this house had already vanished. Leaving the home party behind felt liberating. Afterward, I focused on my work, trying to forget the unpleasant memories of the past. With the divorce, being freed from the mortgage payments of my husband's house and the expenses related to the parties, I found financial relief. I started a new life in a rented apartment, away from my parents' home. My ex-husband was transferred to another region by his company, seemingly seen as a liability in the business dealings involving my mother. Moving to a new place, my ex-husband could no longer live in the previous house. Burdened with the house's mortgage on his own, he sought support from his parents, who apparently refused. As a result, there's been tension between my ex-husband and his parents. What became of the house after I left is unknown to me. I've overcome past difficulties, decorating my new place to my liking, improving my cooking skills on weekends, and leading a fulfilling life. Occasionally, I invite my parents over and host small home parties with homemade dishes. In this way, I've been able to spend warm and wonderful times with my family. Moving forward, I plan to cherish my parents and live with gratitude for each happy day.